welcome to Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 everywhere in the Pittsburgh area. Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park. YouTube is 24/7 with all of our 200, maybe 50 plus shows. And the confusion on when you can watch us, Public Access TV does not list our show. So you have to trust us. Every Tuesday through Saturday night, 7 o'clock to 8, you'll see one of our shows on Verizon 32 or Comcast 7. Other times throughout the week, even as late as 12:30 at night, you will see us. Friends of mine have told me. Chief, you've told me that. Enjoy your dinner.
Chief.
And that's part of what we're doing out here. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner. Yeah, there's Chip.
Hi, everybody.
Smoking Jim Frazier. Zach Brenner. Late breaking news yesterday on Pittsburgh Sportsline. He's now known as a boxing Amish assassin. And we're working on getting that Amish hat. We'll give you details later. He's now, according to a boxing expert, Dan J., I give a little shout out to him. He is an expert in boxing. He noticed that Zach Brenner is down 2 weight classes and still remains a heavyweight. And we're going to start our show with what's on our mind. And we're going to do that right now with Zach Brenner. What's on your mind, Zach Brenner?
Well, Al Levine, the talking machine, you know what's on my mind. I'm going to take it to the North Shore. And for many years, I wasn't quite sold on the man that they call Coach T, Mike Tomlin. And I'm still not sold on him for a couple reasons that never happened during the Cowher era or the Chuck Noll era. And that is one where the inmates are just running the asylum. You know, we got Dumb and Dumber riding around before the flight to Philadelphia. Our number 1 and number 2 running backs, you know, getting smoked up together on the ride to the flight, and not knowing the rules or the laws or just common sense. You know, these kind of things just never happened before in previous Steeler regimes, and I'm just kind of having a problem because to me, you know, I always wondered to myself as being a head coach about making those calls in the crucial situations, going forward on 4th down, making those gutsy calls. But that's not all it's about when you're the head coach of a football team. There's so much more to it, and I just feel like Mike Tomlin right now is failing to deliver on all this talk. All he does is go in front of the camera and say all the right things, but I just feel that behind the scenes, he's just really not delivering what the Steelers need. And that's really what's on my mind tonight, folks, is that Mike Tomlin is a little bit overrated, and I feel he needs to rein these guys back in. And they got rid of Santonio when he got popped in the, you know, on the north side of was that the north side? That was the North Hill District. That was correction. That was the Hill District.
Before boxing got a resurgence in the Hill District, also.
Well,
just so you know,
boxing's got a resurgence in every neighborhood in the city of Pittsburgh right now, folks. So. But like I said, that's what's on my mind. Coach Tomlin is disappointing me majorly right now, and like I said, hopefully he's able to reel these guys in. And I'm still predicting 10-6. So,
thanks, Zach Brenner. I appreciate that, and I know we'll revisit Steelers. We even have a segment on Steelers, which may get opted out once we get back to revisitation. I'm sure. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green, you got to see Levine. I dropped it. I went
That's
to
a bad omen.
alley-oop. Good catch, Al. Oh, man.
oh, what's up with the basketball?
But what's on
Let
my
him
mind?
do is what's on his mind. He might cover 6 things. Come
Yeah,
on.
you know what? What's on my mind? Breaking news. You guys may have heard about the football player from USC named Josh Shaw, team captain.
You missed it by a few days.
By a few days, where he saved his, was it a few days ago?
At least 2.
Where he saved his nephew by jumping off a balcony. Got 2 high ankle sprains, going to be out for a while. And I was kind of skeptical of the story anyhow because Josh Shaw is from Florida, and I never met anybody from Florida that didn't lie. People down in Florida would stamp Sunkiss on Mrs. Miller's orange if they think they could sell it. But the news now...
I got to hear this conspiracy theory.
But the news now...
Please.
News now coming out of California is that this guy was in a domestic dispute. And he was running and jumping from police. So the story gets a little uglier and uglier, but just a couple of things. Got to give my man Chip Hayner credit for giving me the term Doobie Brothers for LeGarrette Blount and Le'Veon Bell. But, like Little Z said, Coach Tomlin did put the hammer down pretty strong by immediately putting both of them into the starting lineup. But just real quick, I believe, and I'm taking a lot of heat on internet when I said that the Rams, now that Bradford is hurt again, that they should trade for Johnny Manziel. Cleveland never wanted Johnny Manziel, just like the Atlanta Falcons in 1991 did not want Brett Favre. So in 1992, traded him to Green Bay Packers.
Brett Favre didn't want to play for the Falcons.
Traded them to the Green Bay Packers for a first-round draft pick, and I think that they should do that to Johnny Manziel. Now, what's really on my mind? I tell you what, I took a lot of heat in the 2012 draft when I said the number one rated quarterback that I had on my draft report was Russell Wilson over Andrew Luck and R.G. Me. And after 2 years, Russell Wilson has 52 touchdowns, only 19 interceptions, fourth highest passing rating for the first 2 years in the league. NFL history, 21-8 regular season, 4-1 playoffs, and he won a Super Bowl. And lastly, of course, nobody's laughing now about that, but lastly, I really believe that Russell Wilson has taken his game to a new level, and I'm now comparing him with the elite quarterbacks of Drew Brees, Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Tommy, what's he got
Brady?
Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. And the reason that I think that he's taken that leap to be elite is he's being pushed every day in practice by the great Terrell Pryor. So I think that the Wilson versus Pryor push there in practice is reminiscent to the Joe Montana, Steve Young back in the day. And that's what's on my mind.
Holy smokes.
Smoking Jim rarely does one of your thoughts on your mind stun me like that. I'm almost at a loss for words.
We're gonna go ahead.
We get a disclaimer. Yeah. Let's go to Chip. Hopefully Chip
I can't even put a disclaimer on it yet because I gotta
Chip save
digest
the day,
it.
please.
Batter up.
Enlighten
No
us.
pun intended. Chip Painter, what's on your
Well,
mind?
that's on my mind, and I know we're going to have a segment about my beloved Buccos a little later on. But, this weekend marks the beginning of a couple of different things. And, Western Pennsylvania is known as a hotbed of high school football, and the games are going to start kicking off. But I have an issue with another local team that I think there isn't a team in college football that has done less to garner interest in their team than the University of Pitt. Now, let me just kind of nail down what Pitt's got to look forward to this year, because they have a coach that strives for them to be 6-6. They might predict another 6-6 season. Maybe they get lucky and they end up 7-6 after they get to the Santa Flush Toilet Bowl. But here's a team that did absolutely nothing to garner any local interest by not having the blue and gold game. The interviews with the coach are just, they're so mundane that the reporters fall asleep in the middle of his answers. And then you look at the home football schedule. They got 7 home games this year, and Pitt is going to set a record for playing in front of the most empty yellow seats of any team in Pittsburgh history. Because, you've got University of West Virginia. What are they doing? They're opening up the season against Alabama. It's a pretty big step to take there.
That's a loss.
And, Penn State's, perennial highly ranked University of Central Florida. They're playing them in Ireland, okay? And who do the Pitt comes? That powerhouse, the Fighting Blue Hens of Delaware. So that's really going to put fannies in the seat, and it's really going to get more interested. The sad thing about it is that Pitt's going to do one of two things. They're either going to win 13-10, or they're going to lose 13-10. Paul Christ has not won his opening game in any of his seasons, and I say the same thing's going to happen this year. But that's what's on my mind.
Wow. We got nothing positive on pulling out of this today. I guess I'm batting cleanup. Thanks, Chip. I appreciate it. Can't disagree with a lot of your stuff. I was going to use the word nondescript for how Chris is.
excellent choice.
So just thought I'd throw that out because I was tempted to do a rant on it, but I have a lot of friends and I am a Pitt fan, so
Me too.
it's a
That
struggle.
I am too.
No, I know, it's a struggle. We won't revisit that yet. What's on my mind is I was driving over here from my house and I go through the high school parking lots and all the football fields. I thought, how blessed is this to see hundreds of kids, not even on the field, they're watching their brothers, sisters, daughters, sons practicing. I mean, I grew up in an era where you never watched anybody practicing. So I don't know what happened there, but the junior football team and everything, it was a pleasure seeing them out there practicing. So go Hawks.
Hail to Pitt.
Go Hawks. I can't wait to see the high school team here, in all the sports. Anybody watching the show out there in Bethel Park, if you want to contact us to, have a player, you want to highlight somebody, let us know. You can even call in 412-831-3304. We just have a lot of great things happening in the community. Smoking Jim.
I like to highlight a player for Bethel Park, running back Alex Minton. Pretty good, pretty quality back.
There you go. We'll be watching Alex then.
And then the quarterback, the coach's son's a great quarterback.
You said that 2 years ago.
And I'll be saying it again.
I'm
next
looking
year.
forward to Gateway's upcoming boys basketball season.
We're going to go into revisitation right now.
Did you know that the Bethel Park High School football team only had 45 students come out for the football team this year? It's the lowest number of any team in the WPIAL.
Really?
They only had 45 people show up for camp.
Got to go talk to Dr. Jan Sandy to find
That's
out what's going on.
He wants to know, since we're revisiting, what happened to little Jimmy? He's looking for little Jimmy. I said, you mean Smoking Jim Frazier? So
Little Jimmy.
he goes, I know little Jimmy. So I don't know. You got a couple different lives out there. I'm still looking for the right government name.
That was good. You pulled that out last night on time.
Definitely.
You stumped the brothers. You know how to stump a brother.
We do got
did.
we got some Tyler Boyd to look forward to for the Pitt Panthers.
And
so
this
at
is
least-
revisitation, folks. We merged right into that, just really segued nicely into it. Go ahead.
Well, like I said,
T. Boyd.
T. Boyd, sophomore season. Hopefully
Outstanding.
we're going to need a lot of big plays from Mr. Boyd, or hopefully he gets double teamed and gets taken out, and somebody else gets opened up. There's some other Clayton Bears on the Pitt football team. I don't know too many Gateway Gators. on the
Titus
squad.
Howard, he got kicked off the team, didn't he?
Hey, there's
Maybe he'll be
Witherspoon, and Boyd are wide receivers.
I can see why they're 6-6 now.
Yeah, well,
Do you got anything that rhymes with 6 and 6?
No,
In the mix.
Zach, to speak to
6-6.
to speak to your point,
Or ABC XYZ Bowl.
Pitt's got James Conner starting to tail back. They've got
Wojciech at quarterback.
Boyd checking in, but quarterback, I don't know. He's untested. He played one half of a game last year in a bowl game. Kind of did well, but it remains to be seen what kind of product they're going to put on the field, because Paul Christ's teams have been extremely boring, and they don't show up.
It's not like Penn State is making waves or really making.
They got a black coach.
Well, there you go. That's why.
Well, we're not getting into that part about it.
Penn State, without being able to go to a bowl game or being eligible for a bowl game, it fared very well with the heaviest sanctions ever in NCAA history the last 2 seasons. It'll be interesting to see what they pull out this year, because they really only have pride to play for.
Yeah, they say their attendance is down to 110,000 a game.
Yeah, I know.
It's not bad.
It's getting sparse.
80,000 at the spring game.
Yeah.
Where was Pittsburgh game?
That's what he said. You're riling them up. You're pumping Chip up to get away from the Gateway debacle.
But a
here.
couple predictions on college football for you guys that like to play a little heavy money.
We don't condone gambling. It's a family show, but he does talk about gambling because he's a known gambler.
Professional. If you want the team that's going to be on the rise this year, unfortunately, Pitt has to play them. It's going to be Duke University in football, believe it or not.
Whoa.
Always been a doormat, but look for Duke to maybe contend for an ACC division title this year.
They fared very well last year. When they played Pitt last year, the score ended up like a basketball score. It was like 55-7 57 or 58.
I think we got burned on a return too.
Yeah,
in
they've
that
been
game that cost us the game.
Duke is a tough school. You got to almost be a straight A student to get into Duke, but they've been sneaking in some C average football players. And also look for Russell Shell for West Virginia to make Alabama pay for not recruiting him. He still should be at Pitt.
Really?
Unfortunately, he's one and done. Look for him to be in the NFL next year. Russell Shell.
Is he working out? What's the word? Because I know you don't have that in.
I thought he was
Is he
doing
pumping
a-
iron with
I thought he
you?
was doing a
Because he
hard
needs that. No, as long as he's not doing that, he can pump the iron.
While we're talking about college football, here's one of the things about college football this year that kind of doesn't sit real well with me, is the fact that now we've got the 5 major power conferences, which, basically, if you're not one of the members of those conferences, that you really don't have any chance to play for the title or to make the playoffs.
Gramblin's out.
So,
If they want to play.
how many teams are there in Division One? Probably 125,
Yeah,
130.
yeah.
So there's probably less than half of them are eligible
Right.
to even be in
Good point.
contention for the
Good point.
title. And if that is the case, then I think what should happen is that the teams in the 5 major power conferences should only play one another instead of fattening up on Division
Good
2A
point.
opponents
Good point.
or teams that are inferior. Because here's
won't
what they do:
happen.
they pad their records so they can get ranked, so that they can be in the lottery at the end of the year. Well, if they played one another, that would thin the
point.
field considerably, and I think it would make for a much better product and much more
Chip,
enjoyable.
you would make a good commissioner, but I have one word to say: money.
Who's not playing each other though? When you play in the Big Ten, you're playing each other. When you
Delaware.
play,
Pitt's playing
Right,
Delaware.
but like Pitt's playing Delaware.
I mean, but even in the ACC, it's weak. So I mean, pick and play Delaware. That's irrelevant. But I'm talking about in the power conferences like the SEC. There's good games
But they
every
still-
regular season. There's
They
every
still have
game.
at least 3 or 4 non-conference games where they play doormats, and the only reason why they play them is to just give them a guaranteed win.
I mean, yeah, when you play, South Florida
Can't argue
International, and you're
But,
Alabama,
you know,
and you win 82
They
to
all
7.
schedule. Let's be honest here. Everybody schedules some wins in there.
Not
They
everybody.
try
Not
to.
Notre Dame. Notre Dame
Just
always
like
plays.
Pitt did
That's not
2
the
years
truth.
ago when they scheduled
That's
Youngstown
not.
State.
That's not true.
The
Nah, when
Penguins
you-
beat the Pitt. I was
Well,
there.
just like-
Youngstown State, you remember that game?
The Penguins.
Pitt did 2
Oh
years
yeah,
ago.
Youngstown State.
That
Just
was-
like when Toledo
got-
was scheduled to play Pitt, and somehow Bruce Grakowski set a record and beat
Yeah.
him badly.
Do you know who the receiver was for
Lance Moore.
Oh my man, brother! You get more. You get to be more and more of a brother every day. Keep getting that vitamin D. Waking up your roots.
To kind of switch gears,
Come on, Kunta.
kind of speak to Zach's point earlier about Coach Tomlin, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think anything is happening under Tomlin's watch that didn't happen under Cowher's watch. And
Whoa. Yeah, don't say
Yeah.
You know what? The
Talking about the
Chip.
chin.
The Sandbox boys are a little upset
I know,
because
I'm
they
gonna stir
forgot. No, here's what they forget, and some of them don't know. And we confirmed it with Jim O'Brien during the steroid era that Steelers were on steroids because you don't shoot helicopters just because you're mentally ill. When you're out there shooting and you got an arrowhead on your head and you're shooting at helicopters because they said you got some mental issue.
Police helicopters.
We had a lot of guys that at that time had some issues, anger issues.
Sure they did.
And a lot of people were looking the other way. Now, I don't know if I witnessed anything. I can't remember back that far. But it was just strange that a lot of these guys had this roid rage they were talking about.
Well,
and how did that oversee everything in the NFL? But they said it was vitamins.
Alan, to speak to that point, I remember back in the 80s when I used to work at a club downtown as a bartender, and there was quite a number of Chuck Knowles players that used to frequent the clubs and go to the after-hours clubs and do some...
Hey, I have a question. Did they ever
some other
drink
things.
kamikazes off the bar?
You know what? They drank them from places that I can't
but
even
everybody
mention on
was
TV.
doing it.
Okay, but so the thing is about it now is
Kamikazes.
that we live in the age of social media where everything you do is instantly photographed. It's put on the internet.
I
you know,
just can't
Facebook,
get it all. I don't
Twitter,
know.
or whatever.
Send that
And
to
I
me.
don't really think anything more is happening now than ever happened in the past. What happened in the past was easier to hide because there was less available.
Well, I want to interrupt you again. Go back to Bobby Lane. He was a great quarterback. Then he come here.
That's Buddy Parker's days.
Now, these guys were going to the game because I have witnesses that were at the After Hours Club with them. They'd say, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I got to go to the game." It was 10 o'clock in the morning.
I heard about that.
And those are true stories. He
was a
even
great
admitted
player.
it.
Well,
But see, as you guys go around the block, what Little Z was saying about my good friend Mike Tomlin, who is one of the great speakers of all time, coaching ability is still in question. But what he was saying was when these guys would get caught by Coach Noel and Coach Howard, who should be in the Hall of Fame, they was dealt with severely. And that is not being the same thing with necessarily with Coach Tomlin when these guys missed it. One player missed the team flight because he was arrested, gets to Philadelphia, and you still put him in the starting lineup. To me, that's questionable for a head coach to do that.
But the difference that you have now compared to back then is you've got a collectively a bargain
CBA.
agreement, the CBA that they have. So nowadays, is a coach, is the team able to discipline their players without the approval of the NFLPA?
Well,
They've got them, so before anything can be done, there's a whole process that has to go through before you can go ahead and drop the hammer on them.
True, but not true. Let's say if this was the first game of the season. The coach decides what 8 players is deactivated. Even if you're deactivated, you still get paid. So he can deactivate anybody he wants. And on game day, even in the preseason, you can decide who gets to go into the football game and who gets to stand next to you for the entire
Let
game.
me ask you another question, okay? Just while we're on this point.
You think I'm Jimmy Hoffa all of a sudden?
No, here's what
No,
the
you're
deal.
still
No,
alive.
here's what the deal is.
I was just gonna say.
How much of a punishment
You're
wanna
not
disappear?
under the medal
is
man.
it to sit a veteran in a meaningless preseason game what they're really not even drawing a game check for? I mean, what kind of a punishment is it? That's more of a reward to give them a day off of a preseason game where they could possibly hurt themselves to not collect their paychecks later on.
I
when it
agree
counts.
with you in principle, but you got to realize it was a nationally televised game, and everybody wants to get their shine on national TV.
You have the
They got
wisdom of
whipped.
Solomon.
They got
Defense
whipped.
certainly missed
They
that.
got whipped. They got whipped on national TV then, if that was the goal.
Well, Smoking Jim has discovered the wisdom of Solomon saying that, but it means nothing. It's
And
practice.
Furthermore, since we're going to dig into and we're going to bring up this preseason game against Philly, when I told you that from the Buffalo Bills to the Philly game, that was like playing, like a Class A baseball team compared to like AAA. Like the Bills are
Whoa.
nowhere near the kind of level. You saw Shazier take a step back. He looked like
Where
a little
was he?
kid.
Zach,
He
where
was
was
getting
he?
tied
There
up.
wasn't anybody on the defense that didn't look bad that
No,
night.
Lawrence Timmons looked good.
Well, but I mean, he looked good for a couple of plays. But
You'd have put Shazier on outside,
Hey,
he'd
when-
have had
no,
4
no,
sacks.
no.
when
He'd
Mark
have 4
Sanchez
sacks.
can march an offense down the field for 2 long drives against you, you didn't show up.
Yeah, that's true.
But
And
how about
first
that
team was
offensive
playing.
line too? They bring in that new offensive line coach, and in these preseason games, I'm still not seeing holes opened up, or maybe these guys can't see them.
And then the excuse you hear
They
is
might
that they're
have
not
it.
trying to show some of the people they're playing because they're going to be playing them later in the season when it counts. So they're not trying to show their hand now, which I think.
Well,
is
they
a
can
bunch
do
of
that, but I think they have a
BS.
double vision problem with some of the players there as they're playing.
Double
So they don't
vision.
see the hole because they're
Maybe
real
if they get their
distinct there.
face out of the
Double
hookah.
vision.
they
Well, like
wouldn't
I
be
said,
seeing
now
double.
that could be the blessing in disguise because now all eyes are going to be on them. All eyes are they're going to have to submit to random drug testing, and all spotlight's going to be on
See,
them.
that's
So
the
now-
thing. See, in the NFL, like you guys know, and we'll get off the subject real quick.
No, stay on it,
Because I've never
Solomon.
had a smoke
Solomon,
or
stay there.
I never had a smoke or a drink in my life, so I'm unqualified to say this, and I try not to come down too hard on these guys with their addictions. But what happens in the NFL has a policy with Roger Goodell to look the other way with weed, marijuana. So they tell you you'll get tested between mini camp and training camp. After that, you can smoke all the weed you want for 9 months because there's no more testing unless, like Little Z says,
violate.
you're in violation. So now you're subjecting yourself to random testing. And if you cannot stop Mike Adams at the NFL Combine, if you cannot stop Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount when you're going to have that loud smell on you on the team plane sitting next to Mr. Rooney and Mr. Tomlin, then how are you going to stop for 9 months when they can randomly take you into the lavatory?
You're in a new level tonight. Solomon, he got the wisdom of Solomon. He got answers, folks.
Noah Miller inspired me yesterday. Homeschool president.
We'll talk about that on the SIP segment. You're hitting on everything. We got so much stuff going on. But I do want to be on the record that in spite of the Doobie Brothers, in spite of whether they're playing or not, hitting holes, in spite of whether they have a good offensive line coach or any coaches that matter. What's that?
8-8. I thought you
No, I'm still 11-5. That easy schedule.
11-5.
If somebody doesn't run out of bounds that I mention every week, just stay in bounds. There's a goal line with a white line. Dive in there. Anybody. Just hit that goal line because you get one more point than the other team. It's a W. That's all you need. And as far as Pitt, hey, if you want to go to a game, they got nice packages now. 3-game packages, $65, Chip.
Really?
3-game packages. There won't be a whole lot of yellow seats, maybe half and half.
I thought you would go down on game day, you get tickets handed to you.
No, they won't. I tried that. They're not giving them out free yet. But you could try. Wait till after the first game. So.
Yeah. Look
But
at the sea of yellow that they ought to put blue bunting all over the stadium so it could be blue.
Well, they used to do that at Three River Stadium. They used to cover up.
Well, sure, it helped the batters to hit much better.
They're going to get cardboard cutouts and put them out there.
Well, hey, that's the deal they had when they were at Cardiac Hill. They didn't always fill that place up. I went to many a game.
With the what they call, you're a young guy, what they call the computer generated stuff. How come they can't
CGI?
CGI. How come they can't How come they can't show a full stadium like it's full?
They can, but you're not there, so they can't multiply you 100 times. They need something to work with.
They can't do that for the stadium.
I've seen
I'll be
more.
honest with you, I think Pitt not having a stadium on campus hurts them.
Have Billy Stahl's dad still there, not sitting with the student section?
I don't think it hurts them at all. I would much the opportunity. They bust all those college kids in from Oakland anyways, and you know that. So anybody that wants to go to the Pitt game as a student gets bussed in to and from. And furthermore, what more can you do?
I don't believe in busing.
Yeah,
You're right, Solomon. You were doing good up to that point, but this is public access transportation.
Yeah.
All right.
I just think
they got passes.
Should be
for free.
a stadium on
with
campus.
the deal that the Panthers made with the Steelers and UPMC and all the works, those kids get access to the same facilities as the NFL, the best franchise ever.
Another Steeler ripoff. The Steelers go in with Pitt, and then they take over everything. Pitt is playing for half the Heinz Field. Pitt gets
this is our man on the inside.
The Steelers get all the UPMC stuff, all the Southside stuff, everything. This is a team that bought Three River Stadium for $30 million, and when it was blown up, still owed $27 million.
Well, that's government money, my friend. The bonds still weren't redeemed. And that's how it works.
And to touch a little bit on the quarterback for the St. Louis Rams, Bradford. They could have cut Bradford this season that we're getting into and only counted for about $10 million. They end up paying him this year almost $15 million, guaranteed money that he's going to get, and he is not going to play a single snap again in 2014.
Yeah, and Bradford was the last #1 draft pick before the new collective bargaining agreement. He signed a contract for $78 million, of which $50 million of it was guaranteed. So without playing down this year nor playing last year, he's going to have banked $78 million because this is the last year of his contract. So total of what he's pocketed is $78 million. I do not feel sorry for that young man.
Hold it. I have one question. Who's his agent?
He got whiteballed.
I
thought Mark Bolger was still the quarterback for the Rams.
Who's his agent?
Who said that Bradford would be an NFL bust when he came out of Oklahoma?
Smoking Jim.
Could have saved you another $78 million NFL.
Smoking Jim, you got to write some letters.
Bradley-
I'll PR you a little bit.
Bradford wasn't any better than the bum the Steelers got that's holding the clipboard now.
Landry Jones.
Landry Jones broke a lot of his records at Oklahoma. They were the same guy. Same guy.
In other words, don't go scout them.
Well, in Landry Jones' defense, he has a way stronger ACL.
Yeah.
So far.
So far.
Yeah.
And he was smart to put big. He was smart to put big.
I'll
Ben.
check with you at halftime on Thursday.
And I'll check with you. He was smart for putting Big Ben's sister in his wedding. They got him a guaranteed spot, and he's a golfer, so Todd Haley loves playing.
There's your man on the inside.
And how do you feel about Snoop Dogg going on Twitter and going on a rant about how the Steelers should get rid of Todd Haley?
Well,
Another dope smoker.
Yeah, but he's a good Steeler fan. I like him. I like him. I can't argue with him. He's showing some wisdom out there, Zach.
Yeah, Todd Haley's the worst offensive coordinator in the history of National Football League. Steelers went 6-2 last year when Big Ben started running the no huddle and calling all his plays.
You think he's a worse offensive coordinator than Joe Walton was for Chuck?
Joe Walton was a legend, man, for the Jets. Oh, he was a legend.
When he was Chuck Noll's offensive coordinator.
Well, that's because
that's because Bubby couldn't figure out
Bubby was so
his right from his left.
But I tell you what,
the teacher's only as good as his students. Sometimes you don't have good
Eric
students.
Green flourished under Joe Walton. Mike Mularkey flourished under Joe Walton. And
he's a stone cold legend in this area.
Tim Worley, yeah. So he had some dumb guys. But I'm glad Joe Walton was able to rebound there.
I'll tell you, he's become a
they
legend.
named the field.
Yeah, they named the field after him, and he retired last year. And didn't one of the former Steelers,
John Banaszak,
Banaszak punch.
We'll talk. He couldn't give me a couple scholarships this year.
Yeah,
so
and you know what? And he's got one of the three Gumball brothers as his starting quarterback for Robert Morris this year.
Does he?
Christian, yes, the oldest of the three. Brett, the youngest, who's be starting for South Fayette again this year.
Wow,
the
he's
defending AAA champion.
Wow. And they got a brother.
No. He was the defending Double-A champion.
Yeah, they beat Aliquippa, which I predicted.
Yes, they did.
Wow.
And
I got to start writing all this stuff down.
You get a gold quill.
And South Fayette is the number one ranked Double-A team in the state this year.
Are they?
Going into the preseason, yes, sir.
Aliquippa.
Heavy money on Alabama over West Virginia.
Aliquippa's ranked number 2 in the state.
Here, Chip. We'll get to that. Definitely. Well, this is revisitation. What else do you guys got in the sandbox over there? Any more revisitation?
Nothing. I'm ready to take it to West Liberty Avenue.
Are you?
Where?
Sip Sports. This is called Stump the Panel. Smoking Jim Frazier hit a new high, and that's no pun intended, and he hit a new low. So that was the low. We're going to go to Sip Sports Bar. I do have some sad news. Sip Sports Bar will be sold. It's in the process right now. They're looking for a possible closing date when, as Zach would say, cut the check. They're estimating maybe the first week of October. So we're also lining up some other places. We've got a lot of people that want us to come out, do a show there. But
is this April Fool's?
No, this is, what's today's date? The 26th? Mm-hmm. It's called August.
August.
This is no April Fool's. It's been a great run. But, business is business.
Restaurant.
That's what, there's no doubt about it. I talked to the owner last night, and we have confirmation on that. So
Sushi?
I hope so. I'm not sure yet. I didn't get their menu yet, but we'll check that out. So that's what's happening. We may be moving there, but we did have a great show.
Can Queenie get us in?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Queenie came in and
we're bringing out all these guests. She's more healthier than that Chinese food there, Smoking Jim. That should be your nutritionist.
She's a power marketer too.
Definitely. And she even wore a T-shirt that she put out there, and then she became Team Vasquez's newest member.
Then took it off and was posing in her own shirt.
Well, it shows her
much
good
to
sense.
the dismay of Vasquez
Anybody
Senior.
that's a doctor and a cardiologist in China, but you can't get certified in America because of all the regulations and everything, you got to give her some credit. So that was one of our many good guests. I want to give a shout out to Noah Miller, who you talked about, who does the Sports Crave. So, I mean, this is a young 15-year-old kid, well, young man. His parents, Jeff and Joanne, brought him out there to be on our show, and as Smoking Jim alluded to,
God
God
bless you.
He's sneezing on the truth, that is.
Holy smokes, it's on my elbow.
Yeah, that is Smoking Jim. He come out there, first time interview at our show, knocked it out of the park. He has over 30 writers. He's in negotiations with ESPN to do something for them. Just a great young man who is getting cyber schooled. So that's a good thing. We also had a lot of great guests. We had Team Vasquez. Sammy Vasquez, the champ, brought his daughter Savina on the show. She was just unbelievable. She's our youngest guest ever, 11 months old.
Wow.
She actually had a speaking part in there. And in baby talk, I think she was talking to her dad and mom. So we got a translator on that. So we had a great time. And Sam Sr. got a promotion with Iron Mike Productions. So that's great. Caitlin is going to get us those media passes, guys, because they're hard to come by. So we got that going on. She had a great interview. And I wanted to tell you, the first time ever, you guys saw it last night, we've never had this happen. One of Smoking Jim's newfound fans walked up right in the middle of Caitlin Roxanne's interview. The guy just walked up, and you got to see it. I'm telling him, we're actually filming a show. He kept walking up, and he's talking to Smoking Jim. Smoking Jim got his $5 back. I saw that. So I didn't know how that worked, but we never had that happen before. And that was before we had the best meatball hoagies from 2 weeks ago. So there's a lot of action. There's still wings up there. Sips is still around.
Hey, Sips is still getting stingier by the day, though, folks. So only Al Levine and Smoking Jim Fraser got meatball hoagies. So what up, Devin Shea and Aaron Ward?
Hold it. We got to interrupt this at another disclaimer. Zach Brenner is now in training. He couldn't eat a meatball hoagie if his life depended on it because he needs to drop 18 and a half more pounds.
Wow.
In the heavyweight division, he got to get that road work in and cardio. So, and then I saw him in the corner getting a tip on a left hook from Sammy Vasquez.
Really?
He was showing him how to put that left hook into somebody's head. So, I mean, that was just awesome.
I'll tell you what, Sammy knows how to put people to sleep with that thing.
Yeah, well, his fight, like we discussed, first time he ever went past 6 rounds. It's a great interview. Not just with young Savina there, his daughter, who's a blonde-haired Mexican, as they were kidding about there. So, very cute, and it was just great. We got a lot of great information there, and you got to check it out. We had Mad Dog Dave, who does MMA, and his gym is one of the best around.
Muscles there?
Muscles was there.
Yeah.
My man.
We got the photos. Check the photos on Pittsburgh Sportsline. We had Muscles and everybody out there.
Muscles Haley in the building.
It was a good crowd. And on my way home, I got an invite because there were so many people staying. Mariah Torres was leaving, so people were staying there getting photos. Dr. Queenie was there. Shonda Lynn and Andre brought the best sweet pie.
Oh, my God. That sweet potato pie is unbelievable.
And Zach Brenner he went off his new diet for 3 slices. My sweet potato pie did not make it home. Yes, I paid for it. I did have a couple bites out of it, and I said, here, anybody try it. They went crazy.
Al just had Zach run alongside the car.
I did. He took a little snack there on the way. But I want to give a shout-out to our 2 guys in the control room, Devin Shea, not Ward, and Jim. I forget his last name. But they invited me to stop by for burgers on the grill, and I stopped by at their house, which is about 3 blocks away.
You had the free meatballs hoagies from Sips. You stopped by.
It was a better day.
I got some of that sweet potato pie.
I even had corn on the cob that was great.
Does Devin have parking in the front yard?
Well, you have to watch because there's now there's an opening there that you can
Sorry,
go in.
Devin, I had to.
Well, now they have 2, but it was a great time. Thanks for the invite. This is what happens on Pittsburgh Sportsline. You meet people, you network, there's business. Mad Dog Dave may bring us some T-shirts. We did get Team Vasquez T-shirts.
Yeah, we did.
So I want to thank the Team Vasquez. That was great. They will be fighting November 14th. That's what we were alluding to. And they will be back on the show. Anytime Sammy's around, he said he'll come by. Just a great interview.
The lightning rod on November 14th. maybe rumored against Monty Clay. I don't know if
That's
that's
a
in the
boxing
cards. I'm sorry.
segment. I was hoping you'd say that. And that's what's happening at Sip Sports Bar and Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching that show. A lot of great things. Now we go to my segments that I like here. Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine, and you forgot to mention that you was talking a little Chinese too, brother.
Ooh, green tea.
Talking a little
Yeah, thanks.
Ginseng.
I learned how to say the talking machine. Why Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah,
We cover everything here.
it was a great time.
Multilingual.
Yes.
It was a great time at Sip Sports Bar, and I'm sad to see it go. We had some great memories there, but hey, my fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac goes all the way to 1998. You was a young whippersnapper there. How old were you then?
He was just a tadpole.
He's a teenager then.
Putting bubble gum under desks.
He
at
still
that
had
time.
hair on his head.
But I'm down at West Virginia University watching the state of West Virginia high school football championships down there, and they had a quarterback who played baseball in Florida, and he would play football in West Virginia for Nitro High School by the name of J.R. House. Ended up being a third-round draft choice of the Pittsburgh Pirates as a catcher, which was the mistake of his life to do that and not go football. But in that particular game, J.R. House threw 12 touchdown passes. Now, 2 of them was called back, but he got the official national record of 10 touchdown passes in one game for state playoffs. And I tell you what, I don't think that record will ever be broken. But I'm on record to say that he probably played even a better game on defense as a linebacker and a defensive end than he did on offense. He was unblockable, and he was the closest thing on the high school level I ever seen to my main man, Jim Kelly. So that was J.R. House that day, 10 touchdown passes in a state championship game. And the biggest mistake of his life was going baseball instead of football. And that's what's on my mind. Another guy the Pirate ruined.
Thanks, Smoking Jim Frazier.
I think they're ruined in Polanco now. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry,
We are a baseball expert.
He'll be
We'll talk
back.
about that
We'll
later.
talk about that when we get to
If we get there, we got 16 minutes.
Oh,
so
no,
let's get
where
to
did
this.
the time go?
Let's get to this.
Somebody
trivia.
call in, 412-831-3304. No, let's do Chips trivia time right now.
All right, we're going to make this. We're going to do this fast and furious tonight. And
I like
always,
those
I like to
movies.
throw Alan a little bone on my trivia night. August 21st, 1931, Babe Ruth became the first member of the 600 home run club. Also, August the 21st, 1947, the very first Little League World Series game was played at Williamsport, Pennsylvania. This past weekend, the Korean team beat the Jackie Robinson team from Chicago in the finals. And I don't know, I think they were passing out razors to the kids that were playing on the Korean team, because if those kids were 12 and 13-year-olds, I'll eat my hat. There was a, I don't know if a lot of you remember from the 80s, that there's a pitcher from the Pirates. His name is Rick Ruschel. And Rick Ruschel has made some notoriety in baseball history because on August the 21st, 1975, Rich and Paul Ruschel combined to throw a 7-0 shutout. Rick Ruschel pitched 6 1/3 innings. His brother Paul finished the game. It was the first ever shutout ever pitched by brothers.
Wow.
August the 26th, 1939, the very first televised baseball game was televised on WXBS. They brought their cameras to Ebbets Field to televise a doubleheader with the Cincinnati Reds. August 26th is also a notable day in 1947. And what happened in 1947? That was the year Jackie Robinson broke into the major leagues, became the first African-American player to play in the major leagues and the National League. Well, a gentleman named Dan Bankhead became the first black pitcher in Major League Baseball history.
Really?
On August the 26th, 1947, 5 months after Jackie Robinson made his debut. He homered in his first at-bat. Unfortunately, he didn't fare so well on the mound. He pitched 3 1/3 innings. He gave up 10 hits, 6 earned runs, and a 16-3 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the first African American to play in the American League, what happened the next year, was Larry Doby. I believe he played for the Cleveland Indians. August the 26th, 1987. We're getting a little bit closer to times when Zach may vaguely remember this. He was only 3 years old then, or was he? Yeah, but Paul Molitor ended the third longest hitting streak in Major League Baseball history. His 39-game hitting streak ended. The Brewers beat the Indians 1-0 in 10 innings, and here's the sad thing about this. When Rick Manning hit his walk-off single in the bottom of the 10th, Paul Molitor was in the on-deck circle. He would have had one more chance to try to get the hit, but such is life in a game of baseball. I have been going over this for the last couple of weeks. I've been touching on a season when Nolan Ryan threw 3 games where he struck out 19 batters in the 1974 season. Well, on August the 20th, Nolan Ryan did it for the 3rd time that season. It's never been done before nor since. And Nolan Ryan also has the Major League record of 5,700 and some strikeouts, which is a record much like Cy Young's 512 wins. Yeah. It's never going to be touched by anybody.
In this era, it'll be hard.
No, because in the age of specialization, nobody lasts that long. Next, I go to the youngest player to ever do something in the major leagues on August the 20th, 1945. Tommy Brown, who was 17 years, 8 months, 14 days old, played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, became the youngest Major League Baseball player to hit a home run in Ebbets Field. And the Pirates played a role in this, too.
Nice.
Because a household name that I remember, but he was never of much significance, Preacher Rowe was the pitcher for the Pirates that day that gave up the home run to the teenager. Wow. And last but not least, on August the 22nd, 1917, here's another game, another interesting fact that involved my Pittsburgh Pirates. Carson Bigby set a Major League Baseball record for having 11 at-bats in a game.
Wow.
This game lasted 22 innings. And that record has since been tied, okay? Pirate Elmer Jacobs pitched 16 2/3 innings in relief. The significant thing about that was the 4th consecutive extra inning game that the Pirates played in a row. They totaled 59 innings in those 4 games.
Wow.
So
that's
your
a lot
trivia.
of innings.
That's your trivia for this week, folks.
Thanks,
Wow.
Chip.
Even got John clapping.
Well, he does watch the show when
Hey,
he's here.
I dig deep to pull some of this good stuff out.
I know. I was surprised you didn't bring up Bob Feller, starting and winning his first game as like a 16-year-old.
Yeah, well, I did have that, but I was.
You got current stuff with the
well,
date.
I can't take 20 minutes for my trivia time. We got to give everyone.
I
else
know
their
we
time.
chewed up so much time. It's 11:11.
You got Zach.
It's time for boxing.
It's time for
Zach.
Zach.
What's your breaking news there, or suspected breaking news,
Well, regarding
or
myself,
anticipated?
regarding myself,
Both.
well, we're looking to line something up for December, right after Thanksgiving, for the Amish Assassin. We're going to start in amateur boxing and then hopefully progress over to the cage, because frankly that's just more violent to me and that's where I'd like to go. So I'm going to work on my striking and my boxing and then take my shot in the cage. So that's what the plan is.
You're doing
right
the
now.
opposite of what some of our friends are doing. Greg Rudolph started in the cage, then he went to boxing. So it's an interesting dichotomy here.
Yeah, it is.
That means 2 different thoughts. So good luck to you, Amish Assassin.
I'm going to let Jim Frazier pick my first 3 amateur boxing fight opponents.
Nice.
3-0 with 3 knockouts, brother.
I like that. Well, you were hinting at some other news here with Rod Selka with Lightning.
Well,
What's the rumor?
The rumor is that it's going to be Monty Clay and Lightning Rod Salka on November 14th, but nothing is finalized or in stone yet.
You know we're in talks with getting Monty Meza Clay, My Life's a Movie, coming to our show with Rick Steigerwald. They both want to come on our show. So we're going to try to get them together.
Who's taller?
I can't rule on that one right now. We're
I'm
speculating.
going to go with Staggy.
2 of my favorite.
I know,
2
so
most-
we're working
2
on that
in-shape
right
guys.
now. But that'd be great with Rod then.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can't talk about Monty Clay in the same sense without mentioning the likes of Raquan Kimbrough, Paul Spatafora. These are all gentlemen that that I grew up watching locally and abroad.
And didn't Iron Mike just sign Monte Meza Clay?
After that fight, he signed him on
Right.
the spot.
He
to
loved
a
it. He was
3-fight
going
deal.
crazy during that fight. We were right behind him.
I understand that fight was quite a war.
It's one of the greatest fights that I saw. Non-stop action. And they give you a little insight. What made it more impressive to me is people were wondering why he wasn't using his left arm or whatever at a time. He actually hurt it during the fight. And he
As
couldn't.
called by. Who
You.
called it?
You.
I called
Yeah,
it.
but
There
I
was
didn't.
gentleman ringside trying to say that he had his
Yeah, but
ankle
you
was
missed
sprained.
it. We must
and I
have
was
been-
like, does it look like his ankle was sprained?
Zach, we must have been simultaneous on that because when I was there, Mike Tyson's bodyguard was with me, and I said, he's hurt. His shoulder's shot or his arm. He goes, you're kidding me. So while you were talking to your man there, I was noticing the same thing. But here's what's amazing, Chip. Not only did he use that arm at the end, the last round, he threw everything possible. I don't know how both of them stood up under the onslaught, but Monty was unbelievable. Just
So
moving
that's-
forward.
that just-
You should check out the 5-minute highlight that they have.
And let's put Jim Frazier
worth
on the
it.
spot and ask him,
That just speaks to the heart of the fighter.
Salka,
and the
Salka,
skills.
Meza Clay, who do you preliminarily take
Well,
in that matchup?
two of my all-time favorites. But if I had to, if somebody was holding a gun to my head, I would say that the boxer beats the slugger.
So he's going with Salka, folks. He's going with the boxer.
That's quite a translation from Chinese to boxing ease with Smoking Jim. But no, in the conditioning, here's what I want to say. Like Sammy Vasquez was in such great shape. Rod Salka was in great shape, even though, New York, he fought in a weight class, wasn't even possible. They're in a different type of fighter. Now, Monty was just in such great shape. Even though he was getting hit with some tremendous punches, he just kept coming back. And that shows he could take a punch, and boy, can he give the punches. I didn't see the count of how many he hit, but it had to be tremendous in that fight. So watch the resurgence of boxing is just fantastic. Talking about boxing, I was at the Teamster Temple, and I saw some great fights. I saw a new fighter coming out of Mike McSorley, Con Greb's gym, heavyweight. Just looked awesome in his debut. So keep a word out for him. And maybe the Amish Assassin might have a day. You better check the... we didn't video that. Maybe next time we'll get something to video.
I got no video on this
There's
guy.
no video. But I'll tell you this much. Our friend Mike McSorley, anytime you want to go to his gym, they may be recruiting you, my friend. So...
I'm a free agent, folks. So there's...
Hey, and speaking of free agent, he's looking for some gear. Who wants to sponsor my man?
That's in the works too, because when I set out on this thing, I was determined to be the first ever non-fighter to get all the things that the fighters get. And so far, through 30 years of my life, I pretty much achieved that. So I had to alter my course, and now I want to be a fighter as well. After already getting what I didn't even have to get in the ring to get, but now my whole motives have changed. So, but I'm gonna still be sponsored by one of these great local clothing companies. That's for sure.
There you go. That's our late breaking news there. We still got a few subjects. I want to touch on high school football. I was alluding to it driving over, and Chip happens to have the Post-Gazette here, so I just want to know one thing. This was talked off air, but with Gateway dropping down, where are they ranked?
They're not.
All right, next. Now let's go into the football.
No,
Who's number one in Quad A? I just
Quad
have a
A,
couple questions
in
for you.
the PIAL, the top 5 teams in the Quad A: Woodland Hills, Central Catholic, Seneca Valley, Upper St. Clair, and North Allegheny. And statewide, Woodland Hills is ranked number 2. Central Catholic is ranked number 3. So
Wow.
well represented there in the local. And the funny thing is you got Seneca Valley and North Allegheny going head to head first week of the season. So
No hiding this year.
none.
There's some great football going to be happening out there. It's just we've got great fall weather right now, so this weekend coming up with football starting, it'll just be great.
Just a couple others to note. Defending state and Whitfield champion South Fayette. They're ranked number 1 in the state and in the double A. Aliquippa's ranked number 2. Aliquippa met them in the championship game last year. They beat them the year before. South Fayette beat them last year. Wouldn't be too surprised to see those two teams locking up in Heinz Field this November. North Catholic, Ranked number 1 in single A, with Claret
loaded.
ranked number 2.
They're
Both Whitfield and State. In Triple A, West Allegheny is ranked number 1 locally, with Thomas Jefferson number 2. And those two teams are ranked 3 and 5 statewide.
Head coaches in the list over there.
What
You
happened?
got Thomas Jefferson. You got my coach Cherpak, my boy, over at Woodley High. You got another Still Valley guy over there,
Novak, yeah.
George Novak.
What about the Ironmen? While we're bringing up Ironmen coaches,
You saw the two in the Class AA, the brutality that we would have to go through every season to even make it to Hinesfield. The likes of Aliquippa, South Fayette. I mean,
South
Double A
Fayette,
is
just to
loaded.
speak to South Fayette, Brett Bumbaugh is going to be breaking all kinds of records this year. He set Whitfield records for most yards passing and touchdowns last year.
Well, here's something to keep up with. Putting it back, as Myron Cope used to say, putting it back of your noodle.
okay.
He may be the number 1 quarterback in the whole country, but may not have the most yards locally. The kid downtown Brown from Westinghouse who passed for 4,000 yards.
You told us that to
will
watch
be a
out for
senior this
downtown
year.
Brown.
So 2 of the guys, Brown last year passed for more yards than anybody in state history except for one guy.
You think Pitt's
And-
recruiting him?
No, he's too short. He'll go to all black school. But this year,
honesty.
both of those guys could pass for over 4,000 yards and maybe lead the nation in
And I
passing.
would be remiss to mention the City League. We've got the rankings for the City League. Everybody thinks that this year Alderdice will finally break through after making it to the
Dragons.
championship. UPrep number 2 with Brashear ranked number 3.
Okay, but
And these are all
Alderdice got the
preseason
Jackson.
rankings.
And you know who's the head coach of Alderdice? Jim Haslett's brother.
Yes, sir.
Talk steroids, huh?
No, we don't talk that stuff. Come on, Smoking Jim.
But that's just
That
a
is
quick
great.
rundown
Thanks,
of the
Jim.
high school basketball football season.
I appreciate that. Let's touch on the
That's how
Pirates
my
a little
left
bit.
arm's
We got
gonna get
about a
stronger.
minute for Buccos.
Okay, we got a quick minute here about the Buccos. The Pirates are still 1.5 games out of a wild card spot, even after going through a 7-game losing streak. Right now, tonight, Lance Lynn's locking it up with Garrett Cole down at PNC Park. Some of the things that I like that I've seen in the last 2 or 3 games that are encouraging. Garrett Cole came out strong in his last start. Pedro Alvarez, 3 home runs in his last 3 games.
At first base.
Thanks, E.
Andrew McCutcheon, in the last 2 games that we've lost them both, hit a 9th inning home run in each of the 2 games. The last one in Milwaukee and then last night. So he's starting to get his swing back.
Well, they might want to move Marte up in the order just a little bit.
Yeah.
Get him in front of Kutch.
Yeah.
Because he needs somebody on base. These guys
you know-
1 for 15 and 0 for this.
And-
You got to mix it up a little bit. This is where the coaching, you got to step up a
Gregory
little bit.
Polanco was in a slump of a pretty bad slump. He was 1 for 30 since August the 13th. And, they put him in the lineup on Sunday, and he looked completely lost at the plate, struck out 3 times, and I think it was a really wise move to send him down because what he needs to face is live pitching.
Right.
And right now we can't afford to have him swinging and missing.
Right. We're going to have to talk Pirate talk later, but remember this. Willie Mays got sent down to the minors. Mickey Mantle got sent down to the minors.
And he's,
they come back to be Hall of Famers.
Both of them.
So keep the faith, Smoking Jim.
He'll be back September 2nd.
And your 84 might be in jeopardy. Let's see what they do tonight.
Guess it ain't that hard to play first base.
You got to catch the ball each time, though.
You wouldn't know.
Less throwing.
Hey,
Less throwing. More catching.
the sandbox is starting to wake up, but this show's over.
Over.
Thank you very much for watching the show. Thanks, John. The Tiger Kiger was even interested in some of the convo here. We appreciate it. The control room, thanks for the party. Appreciated stopping by for my late night snack. Thanks for watching us every night here on Pittsburgh Sportsline, Verizon 32, Comcast 7. Have a great night. See you next week.